Welcome to the Proptech Podcast. It's Kylie Davis here, and I'm delighted to be your host as we explore the brave new world where technology and real estate collide. I passionately believe we need to create and grow a sense of community between the innovators and real estate agents, and sharing our stories is a great way to do that. The aim of each episode is to introduce our listeners to a PropTech innovator who is pushing the boundaries of what's possible and explore the issues and challenges raised by the tech and how they can create amazing property experiences. And my guest in this episode is David Howell, the notoriously quiet CEO of Dynamic Methods. Now, I tease David that he is an international man of mystery and PropTech because everyone knows him, but he is impossibly hard to catch. Now, you might not have heard of Dynamic Methods itself, but you probably know of their products if you're an agent. They're the brains behind REI Forms across New South Wales, South Australia, WA and most states, Realworks in Queensland, and now they've launched Forms Live in Victoria. And they specialise not just in forms and contracts, but in the workflows for agents and property managers around those forms. And with more and more tech-enabled platforms streamlining those workflows for agents and property managers, the quality of the forms going into these systems is really paramount, and that's Dynamic Methods' secret sauce. So if you didn't think a conversation about forms could actually be interesting, get ready to be surprised as we look at how forms really are the oil that's greasing the wheels of digital transactions in real estate. So welcome to the PropTech Podcast, David Howell. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. So David, when we have a new guest on the PropTech Podcast, the first thing we ask is for you to give us your elevator pitch. So what is the problem that Dynamic Methods solves?
Sure. So the way I describe us is we're a software development company that specialises in real estate.
Fantastic. Yeah, as simple as that. But you have been going for about 15 years, and you are the oil that is, driving the engine of an awful lot of tech or an awful lot of innovation inside real estate. So tell us about how you started and your personal background.
Sure. So my background is actually electrical engineering and mathematics. So while I was studying at university, I got a part-time job as a computer programmer. That was what I loved to do. When I was 10, I think, my parents bought us a Commodore 64.
Ooh.
And my dad would bring home the old tapes that you would put on the tape deck. And
right.
And they were games, but they were actually coding games.
Yep.
Back in the basic language. And so that's how I kind of got the bug of writing code and doing things like that. So while I was in high school, I was doing web pages and things like that as well. And then, like I said, at uni, I was majoring in electrical engineering or computer systems engineering and doing another degree with mathematics. And got a part-time job doing things around Microsoft Office, office productivity. And that was kind of what we got known for. We were doing lots of things, the old Microsoft Word templates and things like that.
Oh, yes.
So we were doing a lot of work for law firms and government departments, both local and federal. Mm-hmm. We kind of became known for our skills in productivity within the office, particularly around forms and documents. We worked with a lot of precedents libraries with a lot of law firms around Australia. And so when I finished uni, I ended up starting my own business and doing some consulting around that. So again, my expertise was around Microsoft Office and productivity tools to, fill out forms and create structured data as quickly and easily as possible. But that's got absolutely nothing to do with real estate.
So bring us back to real estate. How did that happen?
What happened was because we were quite well known for that across Australia, and this was just myself, and I had one staff at that time. The Real Estate Institute of South Australia needed some work done, completely unrelated to what we do now. and I went into their office and did my work, and then saw what they were using in terms of offering forms and contracts for their members.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought we could do something better.
Was that on a pad of paper or something, like back in the old days?
It was a very primitive system. They were still selling stationary pads as well, so the combination of the two. But it was just very cumbersome. So I thought we could do something better, and I actually pitched to the Real Estate Institute of South Australia's CEO 2 weeks later, and he loved the idea, but couldn't afford it. So we actually went to REI New South Wales first instead. So and I pitched to Tim McKibben, and he loved the idea, and he took a punt on us, being completely unknown in real estate, and that's exactly how it started. So gradually, just over time, we've gotten through each state and territory, and over time the software or the platform has changed quite a bit as well. That was the very first version, so that was a long time ago. It was well over 10 years ago.
Yep.
And that was using some old technology, and we actually got caught by a bit of a feud between Apple and Adobe.
Right.
Back then, our software
back in the day?
our software relied heavily on Adobe Reader and the plugin with the browser. And I don't know if it ever hit you, but Steve Jobs and Adobe had a bit of an argument over their plugin, and Apple refused to change their browser to suit Adobe. So that meant the plugin broke, which meant we had quite a lot of support, a lot of issues around our Mac users. And so what we did is we actually went back to the drawing board and we rewrote the whole platform again. And this time we weren't relying on any plugins or anything like that. So it was completely native in the browser.
So Dynamic Methods is the name of the business, which is the software company that specialises in data and forms and real estate. But the company or the business that you're now talking about, the products that people are most likely to know you by are REI Forms. Would that be correct?
Yeah, so nobody really knows Dynamic Methods.
No, you're a bit of an international man of mystery. I jokingly tell people.
I like it that way.
Yep.
So think of our platform as a bit of a white label product. So we're REI Forms Live in most states and territories, but we're also Realworks up in Queensland, and then we're Forms Live down in Victoria. So
how does that relationship with the Real Estate Institutes work?
So what we do is we partner with the best provider of forms in the state and territory, and so that's where the Real Estate Institutes come in.
Yep.
And they provide us with the forms and the IP around the forms.
Yep.
And then we provide the technology, and it produces a great solution.
Fantastic. And so Dynamic Methods has gone solo in Victoria, though, with Forms Live. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, so over the years, we now manage well over or nearly 800 forms across Australia within our platform, and we have become, I guess, the industry experts on forms and form technology in real estate. So with Victoria, we actually thought consulting with a property law firm was a better way to go. So we have launched Forms Live and using Colin Biggers and Paisley as our consultants for forms.
So we've gone from this old, traditional method of having a pad full of forms that you fill in and you get your client to fill in, or you post them out and you send them out. What does best practice using forms digitally look like today?
Good question.
And one I've sprung on you, so I'm sorry about that.
No, the kind of the issue we have is we still need to support a lot of different methods of filling out forms.
Yep.
This is where it gets complicated. We've got a lot of forms from different sources. They might be from the local law society or the law institute, might be from the local government, might be from federal government. And these forms may still need to be filled out by hand or partially filled out.
Because of law that says that they need to have a wet signature still.
Yes, exactly. So, yes, some forms, not all forms, some forms must still be signed on paper, pen and paper.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and also, a lot of real estate agents and property managers across Australia, that they still want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to provide them with that solution as well. If we wanted to provide them with just a single solution of everything is done online and electronically, then things would be a lot easier, but also then make things a lot more difficult as well. So, in terms of a best practice today, electronic signing is by far the most efficient way to get your forms executed.
Yep.
But like I said, it doesn't always work out that way, unfortunately.
Let's just pause there for a moment and hear a quick word from our sponsors. If your business is growing quickly, you need to scale your team. Beepo is an Australian outsourcing company that specialises in helping real estate and technology businesses to grow. Outsourcing is not just about bringing on staff with a lower cost base. Beepo recruits and manages staff based in the Philippines who will become full-time members of your team. They will help you identify the key skill sets, the employment history and other attributes that you need from your employees and match your requirements with the right staff. Beepo will also help you to break down your structure, job descriptions, task management and to understand how having a virtual team fits into your organisation. Done properly, outsourcing can help you understand the internal processes of your business, drive your efficiency and provide you with a roadmap for growth. So talk to Beepo and scale your business for success. Thinking about what in the future, what does an amazing forms process look like? I mean, ideally it would be a process that you don't even really realise or care much that you're filling in a form, because no one loves paperwork.
That's right. You're right, but it's kind of a necessary evil. So
yeah.
I like to think of Forms Live as the engine around forms and agreements, where other companies like our CRM partners and things like that don't have to worry about the annoying, boring things like legislation changes and forms, terms, conditions, and all those types of things. Mm-hmm. So they can focus on the other innovative, workflow changes, improving efficiency and things like that. So we become, I think you said, the engine or the oil between some of those systems. So we're not always the ones driving the innovation, but we're giving the tools for the industry to change.
Because we're seeing a huge explosion of new tech in this space, aren't we? From real-time agent and our property and all of the CRMs, like everyone's wanting to integrate or have access to forms through their platforms. So I guess it's really important that we have forms as agents and contracts as agents sitting inside technology that allows them to be easily pulled through or handed off to other platforms.
Yes. So we've focused over the last probably 2 to 3 years. Our focus has been on providing tools to automate certain parts of the form process where we can, again, depending on what legislation allows. Mm-hmm. And rather than us having to define what that is and restrict people on what they can and can't do, we've created an API which allows other products to be able to do those cool things like real-time agent and Inspect Real Estate, Console Cloud, all those guys, where they really are trying to make the life of an agent a lot easier by not having to fill in a lot of the forms, which are still a necessity. So, in an ideal world, there wouldn't be any forms, but it's still the best way to communicate between two parties or multiple parties with terms and conditions and contracts.
Yeah. So describe for me what an ideal new forms process looks like. So I'm sitting inside my CRM, and what happens?
Good question. Again, it depends on, let's take a tenancy agreement, for example, because it's an obvious one, where you might have a CRM who has a lot of the information required in a tenancy agreement, but maybe not all of it. What they can do with our APIs, they can go through, create the form, populate all the fields, and complete it and send it off for electronic signing, all through our API. Now, if they had 100% of the information of the agreement, they could do all that behind the scenes, and the property manager wouldn't have to see the form itself. So we provide all the tools to be able to do that. However, that's not always possible. Let's take a contract for a property. In those cases,
of sale.
Yeah, a contract for sale. So in those cases, you may want to create a contract, and you might have 80% of the information, but you don't have all of it. So again, a CRM may create the form, populate the information it has, but then provide our user interface or our user experience to the real estate agent to complete the contract itself, and then send it off for signing.
Fantastic. So how good are agents at the moment at making the most of these efficiencies and these automations? What proportion of the industry do you think is getting the most out of it?
Our champions, I'll be honest, are our property managers. Property managers are...
Big shout out to the property managers. Woohoo, go girls.
They are our champions. They are very time poor, and they have a lot of forms and things to adhere to: renewals, entry notices, inspections, management agreements, tenancy agreements. There's a form for everything, and they have so much work to do. So this is where, Forms Live really does shine and makes it easier for them in combination with the integration with the CRMs. So they've really taken off and picked up, and particularly with electronic signing with DocuSign, they have embraced it, and it's really starting to show off with some of those property managers who just to save so much time by not having to worry about following up for forms and agreements where they have to. Part of the legislation is they have to make sure that all these things are signed and executed before they can do things. But
in the world that you guys are enabling, they're able to kind of pull the information through, send it out, and then it's coming back automatically, or it's alerting them if it's not filled in. Is that what's happening?
Yeah, so when we launched electronic signatures, there was this fear that consumers wouldn't be confident in using it.
Oh, God.
But it actually ended up being the other way around. Because, every day you're always signing for something, whether it's, like let's say a package comes to your door, you're signing a device with your signature. And the consumers actually are more au fait with it than a lot of the real estate agents. And so the fear factor wasn't really there. We've got a couple of case studies where the management agreements for a property manager were sent out via DocuSign, and they came back, 70% of them came back within 3 days, which was a huge boost in productivity for that particular company.
Wow.
Whereas normally they'll be chasing them up, because they've got to either print them out, sign them and send them back, or scan them, all those types of things. So it's just saving the consumer a lot of time. And therefore saves them a lot of time.
I really struggle to understand why agents don't want to introduce this. I recently changed property managers on a property that we own, and he emailed me the form, and I said, well, don't you have a DocuSign? Can't I electronically? He goes, oh no, we're old school, ha ha ha. I was like, well, no, dude, I'm going to sign this on. I'm going to sign this with sort of Google Docs, and I'm going to send it back to you. And he went, oh, I'm not sure if that's valid. I said, well, it definitely is, I can assure you. So this is how we're doing it. And I know that on another property that we bought, or when we tried to buy this property, in fact, we nearly lost the whole deal because the agent had emailed me the contract back, like the contracts had been going backwards and forwards on email to the point where the file size got so huge that I was working at News at the time, and News had a 10 meg limit on email. And so I was thinking that they hadn't sent it to me. They were thinking I hadn't sent it back. The time was ticking, and everyone was thinking rude words about each other because of a 10 meg email limit. And it's just so unnecessary.
It is. Look, I can understand. So a great example is Tom Hector from Harris Real Estate.
Yep.
So he uses our platform, and he uses DocuSign, and he sells about 200 houses a year.
Wow.
Which is absolutely amazing.
Mm.
And he's a machine, and
yep.
he said he couldn't do it without electronic signing.
Yeah.
I think a lot of agents feel like they need to be in front of the buyer and seller in those scenarios. And I think in the past you did have to, but moving forward, it's just not possible to do that. And there are other ways around, creating that emotion and doing there is certainly an art to what real estate agents do when they're selling houses, and that you've got to respect what they do there, but they don't have to. It doesn't have to be done in the living room of the buyers and sellers anymore. And to be honest, no one has time for that.
Yeah, I think it's actually to do a disservice to try and hang on to some of those old-fashioned courtesies, because if it's not convenient to you, or if it's not convenient to your client, and it's making them do more work in order to get the necessities sorted out, then it becomes a real hassle, and then the hassle becomes part of the stress, and the stress is part of is not a great service experience.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So Harris are doing a great job. Any Tom Hector at Harris, big shout out to Tom. Anyone else that you can call out?
Oh, there's too many. That's the thing. It really is. It's a combination of everything. So it's a combination of the fact that now, we've had this API out for quite a while now, where you can do all these cool things. If you want to connect to Zapier and have an SMS sent to you when a tenancy agreement has been signed by the tenant or something like that, you can configure it to do that. If you want to generate another form from your, what would it be, from a like a new routine inspection or an entry renewal, or if you want to automatically plan your schedule for your inspections and automatically create those inspection notices, then something like Inspect Real Estate, they can do all that for you as well. So by having this API, which kind of disguise the limit in what you can do with it, we've allowed other people to really jump in and make the most of it. So
cool.
So we don't always hear about the stories, but we just see it in the amount of forms that are being created every month, and the fact that that's increasing must mean it's a good thing.
And you guys recently hit your 24 millionth form that was produced in the system. Congratulations.
Thank you. So our users are creating about 500,000 forms a month at the moment.
Yep.
And that's still growing. So last year that was about 300,000 forms a month.
Yep.
So we've grown another 200,000 forms a month, which is just crazy. It's great.
So with Forms Live now operating in Victoria was the place where being able to digitally integrate forms was a problem. That's now opening up to agents down south?
Yes. So I guess the way my business has grown is just, taking our time. The way our company runs is very different to your typical startup or Proptech company, where we're fully self-funded. We don't have investors or anything like that. So we're more about making sure we take our time and do it right. And that's not to say startups don't do it right, but they often have other pressures about growing and growth and making sure you get a return. So we've just, we've created 24 million forms across Australia, and now it's time to get into Victoria and get that right in there as well. So it's just been a slow process. We've picked up a state or territory every couple of years, and unfortunately for Victorian agents, they were the last. But we're here now, and we're happy to help.
Let's just pause there for a moment and hear a quick word from our sponsors. As a real estate agent, you know you need to be doing more content marketing. But creating posts for social media, creating videos and reports is hard work, lots of hard work, and it takes time. So that's why you need HomePrezo. If you're a typical agent posting 1 or 2 social media posts a week, HomePrezo can save you between 75 to 100 hours a year. How many more properties could you sell if you had that time back? HomePrezo can help you create engaging, informative videos about how the property market in your local suburb is performing. Plus, it makes creating suburb reports, rental videos for landlords, and social media infographics an absolute piece of cake. If you can type in a suburb or type an address, you can create a Prezo using HomePrezo in just a few minutes. Listeners to the Proptech Podcast receive a 14-day free trial. Now that's twice as long as the normal free trial. So go to homeprezo.com.au and click the sign up button and use the code Proptech to get your extended free trial, or click the link in our show notes. Fantastic. So, and you've also done some third-party product development. Tell us a little bit about some of those projects.
Sure. So we are kind of the tech provider for some other companies as well. And that ranges from conveyancing as well as property management and sales. So some of those are, and we're actually consuming our own APIs as other CRMs would as well.
Drinking your own champagne is the... Yeah, no, we don't do that.
So and again, it's all around our expertise, which is forms and process and workflow. So we're working in partnership with quite a few other companies. So it's hard to talk to all of them, but in terms of API, companies using our API, we're over 100 companies using our API now.
Wow. Okay.
Which is just crazy because about 7 or 8 years ago, we had to pay someone to use our API.
Yeah.
Now we're getting requests every week.
Yeah. Well, APIs are all the rage, aren't they? And before you mentioned that, property managers can create a Zap, are there many property managers out there who know how to use API or to create a Zap, or is that something that you guys do?
No, you're right. There aren't many. And I guess it's just an example of, one thing we haven't done well, which is, I guess, from my point of view, being critical, is we haven't really educated our users on what you can really do with Forms Live. Mm-hmm. And that's something we're hoping to work on this year, which is partly why I'm on this pod.
I know, and and enjoying it so much.
Yes, I love it.
Just for the listeners out there, it's taken me a couple of months to get David onto the podcast. So showing people exactly what great efficiency looks like in their offices is I guess the next opportunity for you guys.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll be up at the REIQ Summit in a week's time. Mm-hmm. To show them some of the efficiencies we've got around the contracts and agency agreement, or the Form 6 up there. So I'll be doing some breakout sessions with the audience there.
Yep.
And we will start to publish some blogs on how to get the most out of Forms Live and integrations, particularly things like DocuSign. Like a great example you were saying before, when your issues with the contract with buying your place.
Yep.
The agent, if they use DocuSign, they could actually tell whether you had opened up and reviewed the contract but had not yet signed it.
Yep.
So you could do that with all the parties who need to execute it. So you can actually see where everyone's at, and that gives you more information to then focus on what you do best, which is, making sure you communicate well with both the buyer and the seller. Mm. So, for example, Kylie, if I saw that you'd reviewed the contract but had not yet signed it, I'd, quite easily give you a call and just make sure everything was good. And, it gives you more information to make a better decision or communicate better.
Yeah, absolutely. But also just turn the thing around faster. I mean, there's that part of it too. And especially with both couples, both people in a couple working these days, often people are travelling or, you need it sent to 2 different email addresses, and it can be hard to just capture things manually. Now, so we did start to talk about some of the software that you're working on for other businesses, including conveyancing, but also Rezo. You guys are behind Rezo, aren't you?
Yes. So we're the tech providers behind Rezo.
Shout out to Kat.
Yes, which is all about improving the process. So one of the pain points that agents have is actually getting the information to complete a contract. Mm-hmm. And then getting it to a point of execution as quickly as possible. So what Rezo does is really makes that process easy, and it's in the full control of the agent, whether they want to make the process very fast, they can speed it up, or they can make it as not slow, but if they've got some buyers who aren't sure, they can just ease them into the process of getting the contract prepared. And that's worked out really well. I think it's one of those things where it highlights what the consumer or what buyers want to do more of, and that's be in their own home on their own time, talking to their partners or whoever to make a decision about buying a house, rather than having
together.
And they can do that on their mobile phone, and they do. That's the crazy thing. People are putting in offers to buy houses on their mobile phone.
Well, why wouldn't you? I mean, it's the computer we have with us 24/7 pretty much, isn't it?
That's right. And exactly. And people are comfortable doing it. It's, again, there's that perception that they're not. Like there was obviously one of the questions around when you're buying a house is if you've got finance and what those details are. And a great example is that we in Rezo there was a sale which had 14 buyers, I think, and the agent just flat out did not believe that anyone would put in the finance details that they had for their finance approval. Mm-hmm. And what do you know? All of them put in all the details for finance, and it just makes everything just so much easier. So again, the agent can just focus on what they should be doing, which is communicating with the buyers with all the information they've got.
Yeah, fantastic. And it gives you a huge amount of confidence when you're going back to your seller to tell them what the offers are, because you know that because they filled in that finance detail that the offers are solid, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah. And we've even had someone who and this shocked me. We had a testimonial for Rezo where a potential buyer actually wasn't successful in buying that property, but enjoyed the experience.
Wow. Normally disappointed buyers are the most pissed off people in the world.
That's right. I've never I was absolutely shocked that was the case. But yeah, I've never been in that position, or not in the past, and not that I've bought many houses, but to me that's that really sums up Rezo on how the consumers are really enjoying it.
Yeah, fantastic. So David, I love that we've actually, I think, made forms interesting by as part of this conversation by looking at them as how do you actually make all of that, the oil that actually greases the other parts of the process to make it frictionless and to make it really easy and to provide a great experience to your clients, whether they're sellers or buyers. So what do you think the next 5 years holds for the real estate industry, and especially for your space?
Good question. I think, look, the focus over the last probably 12 months is all about automation and workflow, improving workflow.
Yep.
So I think ultimately the forms will be a byproduct of that.
Yep.
As our partners and our integrators get more and more sophisticated, they will be populating these forms a lot faster and without the need for manual input.
Mm-hmm.
And that will just allow the property managers or the real estate agents to do things a lot faster.
Yep.
And yeah, it's, people are afraid of disruption, and in some cases that's it should be,
Yep.
but I think people are also have to remember there is certainly an art and a skill to selling houses. And that art and skill is not around administrative
filling in a form.
Yep. It's for Tom Hector to sell 200 houses a year, he's got a great team who are very efficient, and that doesn't mean he's not employing people or anything like that. It just means they're much more efficient, so they can do more with it.
Yep. Yep.
So I think that'll increase over the next 5 years. That's the major increase. What will that mean for the industry? Honestly, I'm not sure. I think there's a few extremes, which I don't know that will be the case in the next 5 years. But definitely there will be an increase in productivity. All the tools around agents will just make life a lot faster and easier for them, and that will reflect in what real estate agents do and how they do it.
And hopefully it reduces some of the stress and helps some of us get our lives back a bit.
Yeah, and that's the thing, real estate agents are always working. They're never not working. Same with property managers. I fully respect what they do, because I certainly couldn't do it.
No. So it's taken you guys 10 years to get 24 million forms filled in. How quickly do you think it will take for the next 24 million, given this speeding up?
Look, I think we're on track to do how many? Probably another 8 million forms in the next 12 months, I reckon.
Wow.
Yeah, I think, I'm hoping we could hit the 1 million forms a month target in the next within the next 12 to 18 months.
Wow.
With the way we're growing.
And that's a great metaphor for how the tech is actually, the integrated, as the tech becomes more integrated, as everything becomes more seamless, it becomes easier to do it, so the volume starts to really ramp up. Exactly.
And, look, people always ask how's business when the market's down, but the good thing is there's still that many houses around, and generally if they're not being sold, they're being rented. So there's always a form needed for it. And the great thing is, from our KPI point of view, we're not worried about anything except to make sure that forms are getting created, because if forms are being created, then we're a successful business.
Fantastic. Well, look, David, thank you so much. Thanks for joining us on the Proptech Podcast, and best of luck with Forms Live in Victoria, and thanks for helping make forms interesting.
Thanks, Carly.
So that was David Howell, CEO of Dynamic Methods and the powerhouse behind the Real Estate Institute Forms and Contracts engines of REI Forms and Realworks, and now operating independently as Forms Live in Victoria. Now, I realise I'm a terrible geek, but I think this conversation around getting the details of forms and contracts right is really important. And it's great to know that we have companies like Dynamic Methods out there specialising in these things to reduce the administrative burden for agents. Automated form filling in and digital signing, these are things that as an agent you'd be absolutely mad to ignore in favour of the old ways. I mean, why, for God's sake? God put you on this earth to sell and manage real estate, not to do paperwork. And when my new property manager told me that he didn't do that sort of thing, I was really tempted to go elsewhere, except I knew that based on the location of my unit, it was unlikely I'd find anyone else who did it. So I forced him to adopt, and when he told me that he didn't do digital signatures, I think I said something to the tune of, "Oh honey, it's 2020, not 1994. I'll sign it digitally. You can have it in an hour, not in 5 days." And this is the sort of technology that is a no-brainer. So if you're an agent, please stop pretending that you're offering better service by doing it the old way. You're not. You're offering a worse service because you're scared, and you're making yourself a bottleneck, which is affecting your ability to earn. It's time to suck it up, to ask for some help, and get someone to show you how it can be done. And there's lots of help out there, Dynamic Methods being one company. Because as David explained, the API integrations that Dynamic Methods is now offering for REI Forms and Realworks by connecting more and more CRMs and tech platforms every week. So the speed and the volume of these integrations is going to get faster and faster. 1 million forms a month will soon be created on the platform, especially now that Victorian agents who have had to solve the digital form problems themselves individually have now got access to the platform. So expect this stuff to see more of it, expect it to go faster, expect it to become overwhelming if you haven't got your brain around it. Now, if you've enjoyed this episode of the Proptech Podcast, we would love you to tell your friends or drop me a line either via email, LinkedIn, or on my Facebook page. You can follow this podcast on Spotify, Google Podcasts, and now on Apple iTunes. And if you can think of someone who needs to hear this, please tag them in one of our LinkedIn posts and share it with them. I'd like to thank my audio support, Charlie Hollins, and the fabulous Jill Escudero, and our sponsors Beepo, making outsourcing easy, and Home Prezzo, turning your data into amazing marketing content. Thanks everyone. Until next week, keep on PropTeching.